Howdy folks, Sunday in the South, July 4th, Sunday in the South. I'm going to be smoking up a little pork shoulder here, about 8 pounds. I'm going to do some pulled pork for the 4th. I wanted to do some chicken wings, but they feeding them gold bouillon or something. I've never seen nothing like it. Little 3 or 4 pound wings, they want $22 for them. But you can buy a whole chicken, 6 pounds, $4. So I don't know what's going on. Apparently there's some kind of wing shortage or something other. Even though that whole chicken I looked at did have wings on it. So, I don't know. I guess they claiming the chickens done quit growing their wings. But I got a little pork shoulder here, and 99 cents a pound. That's regular folks approved right there. And we're not going to do a whole lot to this. I'm going to take a look at it, see if it needs any trimming up, but I usually err on the side of no trimming, but we'll take a look, make sure ain't nothing just ridiculous. You got a pretty good little fat cap on the back here, and it's not too thick. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't see any things hanging or... Yeah, I'm not going to do any trimming on that. So I'm going to take it over here to the sink, rinse it off, get some of this old slimy blood off. And we're going to go back in this tray. And I've got a dry rub made up right here. And that's several cups. And the recipe for that mix will be down in the description. And that rub works real good on ribs, chicken, any kind of pork. It's just a pretty good multi-purpose. As far as the proportions, you can change it however you see fit. For pork, pulled pork, I like a little bit more savory. If you're doing ribs, you might add some more brown sugar. So it's just up to you, but the ingredients will be down in the description. Let me get this old pig washed up. I'm going to get a binding agent on this, and I'm going to use some of this Creole mustard. You can use regular mustard. I've used Worcestershire before. It don't really matter. You just want something on here. So this rub can stick a little bit. We'll just get him slathered up here. And this is going to go out on the smoker. And I'm going to put a tray underneath it and see if I can catch some of the drippings. So there's 2 ways to smoke these usually. You can smoke them in a tray, catch your drippings, or you can freestand them. And I prefer freestanding, but I've got a rack down lower than the top rack, and I'm gonna set a tray on there and see if I can catch my drippings, and then put that back in the pool when this is done. And I'm pretty for certain it's going to stall out about 160, 165. Big pieces of pork and stuff always wants to stall on you, and then when it does that, I'm going to pull it, wrap it, and finish it off in the oven. We're going to get this vigorously, coat it with this rub. Get them patted in there. We're going to get it on the fat side too. And I'm actually going to put this on the smoker, fat side down. Now the super chefs out there, heads will pop and roll around on the floor, because the idea is usually you want the fat to render into the meat as it's slow cooking. But my idea is that I have found that the fat does not pick up bark very well. So I'm going to put the fat on the bottom. And like I said, I'm going to set a tray under it, see if I can catch the renderings anyway. We'll reincorporate it back into the pool at the end of the cook. Alright, we got old Porky coated up there real good, all sides. And I didn't put no binder on the fat side because I don't think it makes no difference. Like I said, the fat doesn't usually produce much of a bark anyway. But I did put some rub on it. I'm going to let this shoulder set here a little while for two reasons. First off, it's going to come up from refrigerated temperature some. Be easier to cook. And next off, that rub's going to set up and kind of, you know, marry and mingle and get happy. So, two things accomplished there by letting that rest there a little bit. And at the same time, I'm going to get this smoker fired up. Let it start coming up to temp. And also, too, I thought about injecting this with some Wickers. I really like that Wickers marinade. But I have found usually when I inject a shoulder, I guess the liquid starts steaming in there and you end up with kind of stringy pulled pork. I don't like stringy pulled pork. I like it to be more chunky, so I'm not going to inject it. But when this stalls out and I pull it and wrap it in aluminum foil, I am going to pour a little Wickers in the bottom there and finish it off in the oven. So I just add a little moisture to it. And as far as spraying this while it's cooking, I'm kind of torn on that. Sometimes I found that the spraying just seems like to me it washes your rub off. But I'm going to let the rub set up real good and I'll spray it with something other. A lot of people use apple juice or something. Hell, I may just spray it with some beer. It's going to be good either way. We'll be back here shortly. Alright, the old smoker hit 200 degrees. I'm going to pull these vents back to about the width of a pencil. That's where I usually run them. And that maintains 225 to about 250. And for smoke wood, I'm going to be using some apple and some hickory. Alright, we're coming up on 225. I got some water in the container. I got my drip pan set. We're gonna go and get this shoulder on. Got the temperature probe in. Got some hickory and apple wood smoking. We're gonna let it go. When it stalls out, we'll pull it. Shoulder been going for about an hour and a half. We're gonna go out there and take a little peep at it, but it is noontime, so that makes it alright. I'm gonna pour a little beer in here and maybe do a little spritzing. We'll see what it's looking like. If the bark's set up on it, I'll hit it. Let's go look at it. We're holding right steady at 225. Nice little bark setting up. Let's give it a little light spritz in here. That's what I like about these little Weber Smoky Mountains. They just kind of set them and forget them. They really hold the temp right. Alright, she's been smoking 3 hours. We're still holding 225. Let's get a look-see. Looking pretty good. Sure enough. We got us some drippings down there too. We'll spritz it with a little beer. See what the internal is. 139. Put some more wood in here. We 6 hours in, Old Smoky Mountain still holding right at 225. Let's take a look. Ooh, that look good. Now we got some moisture coming out of it now, so it's probably got some evaporative cooling and it's about to stall. $163 on the internal. That's probably about getting close to the stall point. I'll keep an eye on it here over the next 30 minutes. If it don't go up or it just starts dragging, we'll go ahead and pull and wrap it. Well, we 8 hours in on this bad boy. Still holding at 225, but it has stalled out. It's been sitting at 168 for nearly an hour. So it's been on for 8 hours of smoking. We're going to pull it and get it wrapped, finish it in the oven. We got the oven heating up. I'm going to run this at 225. We're going to continue low and slow, but we're going to get it wrapped, and that's going to hold the heat in, and this is going to continue to cook. It looks good, smells delicious. I'm going to get some of that Wickers down here in the bottom. Just a splash or two. And there's the oven beeping. It's ready. Get a temp probe back in there. We'll make sure this is sealed up real good so that we can contain the heat and the steam and continue to push this temperature up. We're looking to push this to about 200. Now, anytime these port shoulders hit that stall, there's several ways to deal with it. You can crank the heat up on your smoker to push it out of the stall and then bring it back down to low and slow, which I don't like that method. You can wrap it, put it back on the smoker, keep it low and slow. I don't see the point in that. It's not going to pick up any more smoke. You're just going to burn up more charcoal. So I'm putting it in the oven. Let's get it in there. I got the pan drippings over here. While this is finishing off in the oven, I'm going to get it in my degreaser and see if we can end up with anything might want to add back to the pulled pork. I've never done this before, but we'll see what we end up with. We'll let that grease come to the top and then strain it. There with may end up with a pretty good bit of flavor there to add back. Alright folks, shoulder's still in the oven finishing up. It's almost done. But I've got these drippings here that's been in the refrigerator. And the fat has came to the top and congealed. So I'm just going to go in here and get this off. And then take a look at what's left and get a taste. And see if that's something I want to add to this pulled pork later to reintroduce the flavors. Because there's usually a lot of good flavor in drippings. And just by smelling this, it smells like concentrated pork. So I think what I want to do with this is run it through a strainer. Alright, I got those drippings there strained off. I'm going to give it a taste here. See if it's going to be something I'm going to want to add back into this pulled pork. It's got a real concentrated pork flavor, but I think it's gotten so much smoke that it's almost bitter. So, I don't know if I'm going to use that or not. I don't think so. Like I said, I'd never done that before. Collected those drippings. So, needed to try. We'll get this pork shoulder out of the oven here just shortly. So, it's been in about 3 hours. Should be done in about 15 minutes. About 200 degrees internal. We'll get it out. Let it cool. Get it pulled. See y'all back shortly. Alright folks, we have hit the magical 200. On this shoulder. We'll get it out of the oven here. Shoulder roast out of the oven. It hit the magical 200. And got quite a bit of drippings in this pan. And of course I put that Wickers in there. So it has soaked that up as it finished cooking there, covered. And it set for a little while and stalled. It took about 45 minutes before it started climbing. And then a couple hours longer to finish up. But it looks really good. And it smells amazing. So we'll let this cool here a little while and then get it pulled apart. See y'all back shortly. Alright, this has been cooling here a few minutes. Let's go in here and get this bone out of here. And it's going to pull out pretty cleanly. And we're just going to get this pulled apart. Oh boy. That is nice. Nice chunks of pork. See how it just chunks apart. That's the way I like mine. I don't like it when it gets all stringy, and that's why I didn't inject it, because generally you end up with stringy pork. This is going to be delish, and it is juicy, moist. That's some nice moist pulled pork right there. And the bark held up pretty good too through the wrapping and cooking process in the oven. And I even basted it some when I pulled it out of the oven, and it still held up pretty well. So it's about 12 to 13 hours total invested in this. But I tell you, it's worth it. that's just gorgeous. So moist and tender. I'm going to have me a taste of this. I just can't sit here and not have a taste. Mmm. Woo! Damn, that's good. It is definitely worth the time. And the good thing about pulled pork is whatever I ain't ate, I'm going to can it in the pressure canner. And when I want some good pulled pork, I just take a can out the pantry, and there it is. But that apple wood and that hickory really comes through on that bark. It got just a little bit of sweet after notes. And of course, the hickory is very savory. And then the rub that was put on there is fairly savory. And I put it on heavy because I like well seasoned. And this is just falling apart, pulling apart easy. This is going to be real good sandwiches. And there's some of that fat cap left on the bottom, and that's fine. I'm going to mix it on in here because fat is flavor. And it just adds some more moisture and flavor to this pulled pork. And I think that just about does it. That's some good looking pulled right there. Woo. Alright, I gotta quit eating. That is delicious. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cover this up, put it in the refrigerator. And in the morning, put together some sandwiches. Maybe a pickle or two. Some barbecue sauce. We'll serve it with a side of baked beans and potato salad. July 4th, Sunday in the South. See y'all back tomorrow. Howdy folks, Sunday, July 4th. This old pulled pork sat in the refrigerator all night and warmed it up this morning. About 18 folks has came and went, and that's what's left. I told them to at least leave me enough for a sandwich. And most said stringy, which really ain't how I like it. But I'm going to do the obligatory plate up here, build a barbecue sandwich. And this barbecue and this shoulder was outstanding. The smoke, the flavor, the juiciness, the texture, it was really good. Let's get this plated up. Hit it with some of this homemade barbecue sauce. I'm going to do a video on this someday or another too. It's kind of a hybrid. A tomato sweet and a Carolina vinegar mix. It's good. Get a few pickles on there. To top on. Of course, we're going to need some tater salad. And I got some Cajun style baked beans, and I'm going to do a video on them as well. They are fantastic. They about all got ate up. So that's it, folks. That's a pulled pork barbecue. Time consuming. It is worth it, especially if you're feeding a whole bunch of folk. Hope y'all had a good Independence Day. Till next time, peace.